Hey, what's up y'all, Vincent here. So lately I've been hanging around online spaces for Asian guys and I've noticed that a lot of them have been asking for hairstyle advice. So I'm making this video and I'm hoping that it's going to be a good resource for them. In this video I'm going to cover some hairstyles that I've implemented over the years as well as advice on how to style it as well as what products to use. But before I begin, make sure to support your boy and like the goddamn video and subscribe if you haven't already. Alright, let's go. First, let's do an overview of Asian male hair as well as some hairstyling basics. When it comes to describing Asian male hair, obviously the color is like black, but the most common characteristics is it being long and straight. So when it's finished, it's usually like soft and silky. And depending on your genetics, which is like your parents, if your parents had long hair, then you would normally grow with long hair too. So when it comes to hairstyles and stuff, you have to denote parts of the head with different cuts. So there's the top, which is just basically like the top of your skull, like right here, around. And then you have the back, obviously, right, like, you know, right down to your neck. And then the sides, which are just the side of your head. And that includes the sideburns right here that goes right in front of your ear. So most Asian men with longer hair usually have a lot of hair on top, and then the sides grow out quite a bit as well. And then in my case, my hair also grows down quite a bit on my neck. So when it's at full length, I usually have like a mullet. So if I weren't to style my hair right now, I would probably have like the Bruce Lee hairstyle. Before I got into hairstyling, I didn't really know what to do with my hair, but I did know that I didn't want it to be messy. So I at least like washed my hair in the morning before I went to school and kind of like patted down and dried it. And sometimes I would even like comb it. So I would basically just have, like I said, the Bruce Lee hairstyle. And as for haircuts, I didn't really know what to do with that either. So I left it up to my mom. It was either she cut it or she would take me to some Asian hair salon. And the staple haircut they would always give me is what I would say is akin to the Tobin hairstyle from Maple Story. So before I start covering some of the hairstyles that I've done, let me quickly go over why it's important for Asian males to learn how to style their hair. There's a number of Asian guys that don't know how to do this because they don't take the time to learn. So they'll just wake up with bad hair and just go among their day. The problem with that is that it looks very unappealing and lazy, and it also reinforces negative stereotypes about Asian males. There are guys that go out there with unwashed bad hair and it looks oily and prickly because all the little loose hairs will stick out, especially from the cowlick, which is like the little swirly area where hair grows out in like all different directions. It's also called porcupine hair. And as I said earlier, I was quite aware of that issue, so I would address it by like putting water and like wetting it down and patting it down with a towel. Alright, let's start going over some of the hairstyling process, and the best way for me to do that is just to show you how I styled my hair earlier. The main points that I want to emphasize are the moisture level of the hair prior to the hairstyling process, what combs to use, what products to use, and what haircuts to do on the tops and the sides. Alright, so this is what my hair looks like before I style it. So as you can see, it's pretty straight and long at the top, goes to about the top of my ear. Then as for the sides, say it's around 2 to 3, maybe even a 4. And then as for the back, you can see the mullet starting to form. It's pretty high up on my neck. So yeah, let's get to work and start styling this thing. Alright, so I just got out of the shower, so my hair is still a little bit wet. And as I said earlier, you want to just like lightly dry your hair. So like, you know, just like pat dry it so that it's only damp and not completely wet. So now I'm gonna pull it apart and give it some shape with this detangling comb. And you can get these for pretty cheap. I got this from the Dollar Tree. So what you do right here is just I'm gonna pull my entire top of my head and I'll loosen it up and also give it a little bit of shape for now. Yeah, right now my hair is still pretty dry because it's still coming off in the previous perm. So yeah, I'm not gonna go too hard. We just want to give my head some shape. And then we're gonna use the blow dryer and just blast it up a little bit for a little bit of volume. Or we're just gonna do it real quickly because we don't want to fully dry it out. So as you can see, I was mainly blasting at the roots, so that way I can get the whole strand some volume, and also I'm trying to like blast it through the entire head. I don't want to like blast the middle to like make everything go haywire. So now that we did that, now we're gonna add a little bit of product. So I can use a good amount of products right now since my hair isn't exactly curly or wavy, but it's also like kind of straight. So I'm gonna use some pomade actually. So, you know, I just have this pomade they brought, right? I just have this pomade that I bought right here. Murray's, just simple pomade. It's dry product that's gonna get a little bit wet once it gets into your hair. So just fingertips worth of product. Spread into my hands and fingers. And now I want to hand comb my hair and give it the shape I want. So you can see the curtains are already formed, but it's still pretty messy and it's gonna get unformed in like wind. So you gotta add pomade to make it stick and stay in place. Also finalize the shape. So I'm gonna spread the product throughout my entire head. Try to get every strand of hair with some pomade. And now we're gonna shape it. So I'm just gonna do a middle part split curtains. So like right down the middle of my head. So I usually just start from the front. And sometimes it's not completely straight and that's okay. So yeah, let's just do it right there. And then for the back, I just pull the back, you know, out here because the back doesn't really matter. I'm just gonna have it drape over the back right here. So I might tweak this part a little bit, you know, just make sure all the hairs are moving as I want. And yes, that's good enough. Now I'm just gonna form the curtains right here. So I'm gonna pull it forward, kind of compress it so there's volume at the top. And just even it out on the sides. Fix any loose hairs on top. Okay, there you go. Alright, so now that we have a basic understanding of some of the things that I do when I'm styling my hair, let's go over some of the hairstyles that I've done in the past. So I didn't start doing any hairstyling until college, and once I did, the very first styles that I experimented with were the Mohawk and the fohawk. Making a Mohawk requires quite a bit of hair on top, but if you do have it, then it's very simple to make. Just as I did earlier, you're going to want to dampen your hair with a towel first, and then once you do that, you're going to want to get some hair gel with strong hold. You only need like a little bit, like a fingertip's worth. You're gonna spread that across your hands. Then you're basically just gonna like slice your hair up together. So the goal is to have this one long line of hair in the middle of your head and have the gel hold it up. So basically just slice your hair up like this. That way your hair is gonna stick together and the gel is gonna hold it at the top. And it's gonna give it like a little shiny look. Since the Mohawk is a very top heavy hairstyle, you're gonna want short sides, which I didn't know about at the time. So let's segue into that. So most men's hair grows out on the side like a wall. And when you ask for a cut, you have to ask for a number between 0 to 7, depending on how thick you want it. With 7 being the thickest and 0 basically just being skin. You can usually ask for a simple side trim with a single number, but right now the most aesthetic side haircut is the fade. There's multiple levels to it, but usually the most common are the high fade, which is fading at the very top down, or the middle fade, which is fading from the top of the ear down. So say for example, you ask for a skin mid fade with a 1 and a 0. So at the very top, you would get the sides cut to a 1, and then right below that, they would cut the hair all the way to the skin, so there wouldn't be any hair like around your ear. You'll also get asked sometimes if you want it blended, which means getting like a diagonal cut at the fade point to give it a cleaner look. And you should always have it done that way. So going back to my Mohawk attempts, if I were to do it again, I would definitely get the sides faded. My current preference for fade right now is a mid fade with a 2 and a 1. So that means the top would be a 2 and then the bottom would be a 1. And then when they ask how far I want to cut my sideburns, I usually ask to cut it right at the top of the ear. And when I asked where to fade it, I wanted them to basically bring up the hair on my back up to the bottom of my ear. So usually the fade goes around here, and then all of this gets brought up here. And then after the Mohawk, I transitioned to the fohawk, which was a lot more utilitarian for school when it's really windy and stuff. And instead of styling it upwards, you just style it forwards. Next, we have the Combover with fade. And mates, if you have medium to long length hair and you want a low maintenance hairstyle that you can rock year round, go with this. So what you're gonna want to do is you're gonna want to isolate the top on an island. So basically just all this hair right here would be cut off. And then the sides are obviously faded. And then when it comes to styling it, again, we're gonna dampen it, but this time we're gonna use a regular comb. So this is a basic comb with 2 sets of teeth, and as you can see, one end is really fine and one end is a little bit wider. So depending on the type of texture you want, you can use the finer one, which will make like a lot more thinner waves, or you can use the thicker one, which will make thicker waves, but it's usually more voluminous. So what you're gonna want to do is you're gonna grab the end of the comb that you want. You're gonna want to comb your hair backwards and towards the side that you want it to go to. So the direction that you want to comb your hair in depends on which side of your face is more aesthetic, as well as where your cowlick is, as you want the comb over to go with your cowlick, not against it. So in my case, my cowlick is around the rear right side. So if I were to comb it to my right, then a lot of the hair over here, it would just fall back to my left. So that's why I go to the left. So I'm gonna comb, if I were to do the comb over, I would comb back to my left. And then I would gradually bring it forward because I want the bangs on the side. So initially you just want to do a rough comb, and then if you want more volume, just blow dry it up real quick. And then after that, you add product. With the comb over, the product of choice is pomade. Pomade has a medium strength hold, but it also gives your hair a shiny finish at the end. I find pomade to go really well with clean looking hairstyles as well as wavy ones. There's a lot of different pomades out there that emphasize either like the shine, the wave, the hold, or give it a more like normal look. So feel free to get whatever one fits your personal preference. So here are some of my past looks with the comb over, and as you can see, I went with a bunch of different fades. So sometimes I went with like a high fade or a mid fade, or just the traditional undercut. Again, this is a very low maintenance hairstyle and it looks very clean. Would highly recommend for any Asian guy. So now moving on, we have the basic perm. Now I didn't really know what a perm was, so when one of my good friends decided to get it, I decided to follow suit. So what a perm does is, with some inserted hair rods and chemical treatment, it breaks down the straight hair bonds in your hair so that your hair becomes curly instead of straight. It does cost quite a bit and it takes a good amount of time, like a few hours. So expect to pay like $100 or more. Honestly, I wasn't really a big fan of the basic perm, as I like my straight hair looks more, and I wasn't really feeling the undercut perm. The main pro about the perm hairstyle is that it's extremely low maintenance. You can basically just wake up and rinse your hair out and clean it up with your hands real quick, and it'll look clean. And once I start implementing other hairstyles such as the side comb over and the headband curtains look, then it started to look kind of decent. As you saw earlier, you need to use the detangling comb to like break apart the hair, as it's usually heavy and dry after you rinse it out. So this perm lasted around 3 months before my hair actually started drying out, so I had to like get it cut real short and go back to some undercut looks. But once it grew back out, K-pop was on the rise, so I was inspired to try out the Korean wave perm. So with the Korean wave perm, I specifically looked for a Korean hair salon to do it. I used these pictures as reference for the look that I wanted. Compared to the previous hairstyle, this would give me a more wavy texture than a curly one. The reason why is because like your hair is going to be long from the back to the front, So when it comes to like your sides, if you were to get a fade, this hair is going to cover this entire area, so you won't be able to see the fade. But if you were to just to get like a 2-block cut, which is basically like a level trim amongst the sides and the back, you know, if I were to just get it trimmed, you could still see like a thin sideburn here. But if I were to get it faded, this whole sideburn in back here would be like either really thin or skin, and then you wouldn't be able to see it, so it wouldn't look that aesthetic. So to style my hair with the Korean wave perm, I would basically do the same thing I did earlier with this curtains look, but instead of using pomade, I would use curl cream or mousse. I want my hair to poof up as much as possible, and mousse adds a little bit of volume to that. So with the Korean wave perm, I've already had it done twice, and I'm scheduled to get it done a third time. I would say my first iteration was the best one so far, as I grew out my hair to full length before I had it done. So I had all of this hair as wavy hair. The second time, I was coming off a bad haircut where my hair was like leveled above my ear on this side of my head, the right side of my head, and it was at like full length on this side, so they were like a little bit uneven. Plus, I didn't really know how to like style it properly with curl cream and mousse, so the first like iterations of my second perm were pretty whack, I'd say. But once my hair continued to grow after the second perm, it definitely started to look a lot better, but I still preferred the first iteration. So yeah, K-pop is quite popping right now, so if anyone wants to hop on the wave, they'd go with this aesthetic. So let's just go over some final points when it comes to hairstyling. You want to style your hair when it's damp, not wet, because when it's wet, the water is going to weigh your hair down, and even if you try to apply product, it's going to be very hard to shape, and the like finished texture is usually going to be like very flat. I normally style my hair after a shower, and depending on if I wanted like a softer and more voluminous finish, that's when I would use shampoo and conditioner. You want to use volumizing shampoo and conditioner so that your hair gets more fluffy when it's finished. For normal days, I'll usually just use shampoo and that's enough, but if you want it to have that like softer finish, then you need to add conditioner too. And then a quick go over on hair products: hair gel, stronghold, shiny finish, pomade, variable from like shiny to normal finish, medium hold, mousse, medium hold, wavy, curly finish, curl cream if you want to like deal with curly hair, especially with perms. You don't really need to break the bank on these products, but feel free to like experiment and find ones that you'll like. And my last point is to pick hairstyles that fit with your lifestyle and your occasion. When I was in college, I was biking basically everywhere, so that's why I really liked the fohawk, because it was a very compressed hairstyle that could deal with the wind very well, and it was very easy to like fix afterwards. And with my current curtains hairstyle, it's very low maintenance, but also when it gets like blown from the wind a little bit, I can just like hand brush to fix it. And yeah, that's it for me on Asian male hairstyling. I'm not the most knowledgeable person on this topic, and I also don't invest as much time and money into this as someone who's like obsessed with this lifestyle. But what I am is a simple man who understands the basics of good hair aesthetics. And as I said before, as a detail-oriented person, I would like it if someone could explain something like this to me in simple terms. So, this video. But yeah, take it from me, this should be a very basic resource, so to any Asian bros out there that are looking to try out more extensive hairstyles, what you should do is find someone that you idolize and has like the hairstyle that you want, and just take their pictures and just try to like recreate that hairstyle. And when you go out to a salon or your barber, show those pictures as reference and they should be able to hook you up. So yeah, if you made it this far, then thanks for watching, and support your boy by liking the video, leaving a comment if you have anything to say, and subscribing to stay in the loop for any future content that I make. Hell, you can hit the bell as I'm ramping up my content production. That's it for this video. I'm out. Bye-bye.